Hey everybody, Michael from One Sky here with another full moon video. This full moon taking place on June 17th, 2019. The last new moon was in the constellation of Taurus, and this full moon is going to be in what some people call late Scorpio, but is technically the realm of constellation Ophiuchus, very near to the galactic center. In fact, just 1 degree. 1 degree separates the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy from this full moon. So very activated point, very activated energy, very otherworldly energy. All right, let's take a look at this chart. Jump right in. And all right, right away you'll notice we're using uneven sign astrology. This is 13 sign astronomically accurate astrology called true sidereal astrology. You'll notice that the constellations are different sizes. That's Aries, and you'll notice it's a different number of degrees than Taurus, and that is because Aries is actually taking up a different number of degrees in the sky. Right here we have constellation Aries, and you see it's a little smaller than constellation Taurus. So this kind of astrology reflects that, and that can be a little unusual for a lot of people. In fact, I think that most people place this full moon in Sagittarius, according to tropical astrology. So a little bit different. If that's surprising to you, check it out. Keep watching. This is an emerging branch of astrology that's reuniting the East and the West, reuniting the modern technology-based way of practicing astrology with the very ancient roots of it, which are definitely in sky watching the actual heavens. So bringing together astronomy and astrology. And without saying too much about that, because I and some other folks make some videos about that, I want to jump right into this chart. And here you'll see the sun in late Taurus. That's sun right on the Taurus-Gemini cusp, right here at 33 degrees of Taurus. And the full moon here at 10 degrees, 57 minutes, so almost 11 degrees of the constellation Ophiuchus, conjunct to the galactic center. So these are pretty interesting placements because late Taurus is just a really practical place, and its proximity to the constellation Orion, which isn't really on the ecliptic, but it's one of the most important constellations that isn't on the ecliptic. It's energy here between constellation Taurus and constellation Gemini. Here we have the Hunter Orion, which is very, very grounded influence, very real world, very just, let's get it done. Let's hunt. Let's get food. Pretty basic. Let's eat kind of energy. And on the other side of things, we have the moon in one of the more otherworldly, one of the more esoteric and otherworldly degrees of the zodiac, which is here in Ophiuchus. So for those of you who are new to this kind of astrology, new to people talking about the galactic center, or Ophiuchus. This is the GC, the point at which we find a supermassive black hole, 4 million times the force of the sun that the Milky Way galaxy, all of the billions of stars in the Milky Way galaxy orbit around. It's a point of incredible force, and next to the ascendant, and right up there with the 4 cardinal points of a chart, it's one of the most activated points on a chart. So right away, this full moon on the 17th is going to be activated. Definitely going to be some strong lunar energies. There can be some strong emotional energies, and in constellation Ophiuchus, those can be around what we're deeply passionate about. They can be around the mystical. They can be around the visionary. Ophiuchus was Asclepius, who was the god of medicine, who had visions about resurrecting the dead even, but had visions where snakes would come and instruct them on what medicines to use, and was such a great physician that there's a constellation named after him. It's a very feminine influence. It's a very feminine influence that has everything to do, in every culture that observes this group of stars, has everything to do with serpent power, serpent energy. So there's a strong energy of Kundalini, strong energy of Kundalini. If you're working in a yogic or meditation tradition and you're working with that vital energy in your body, this full moon is going to be an amazing time to practice with this powerfully activated lunar energy, reflecting from mystical, visionary, strange Ophiuchus, that grounded, deeply rooted energy of Taurus, in the neighborhood of Orion. This is a great time to bridge heaven and earth, to build that bridge, to bridge that gap between the terrestrial and the celestial, between the everyday world of eat, shit, sleep, and the fantastic inner world of our highest healing intentions, of our visionary ability, of our mystical life force, the serpent power, the that high octane life force that lies in each of us and can be activated by yogic practice and accomplishment. So this is right here where the cursor's moving. This is the constellation Scorpio. And you could also look at this moon as in the territory of Scorpio, and all of the ideas that we have about Scorpio, almost all of them apply to this realm of the sky. The commitment, the all or nothing commitment, the kind of passionate, emotionally based intelligence that Scorpio represents is also present in Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus is more, I read it as late Scorpio. Ophiuchus, as the healer, has taken the poison, kind of, these legs of Ophiuchus step on the tail of the scorpion. And Ophiuchus has taken the poison and turned it into medicine, and wields that medicinal power as the serpent power. as the Kundali, or the mystical and visionary power that lies within human beings. And Ophiuchus is very much about transformation, death, and rebirth as the moon moves past the galactic center and will move into Sagittarius on June 18th. In Sagittarius, we see expanse, we see reemergence, we see the kind of joy and hope and optimism that is the counterbalance to the kind of gravity of the area around the galactic center, the gravity of Scorpio Ophiuchus, and the kind of seriousness that this death and rebirth process, rising out of our own ashes, like the phoenix, that has a seriousness to it, that has a power to it, that is going to be accentuated by Jupiter here, conjunct to the moon. And with that, I expect to see a lot of the heavier aspects of this placement, Scorpio Ophiuchus, kind of counterbalanced with optimism, good luck, hope, faith, the kind of energy of expanse that can carry us through some of the more difficult transitions that often come with this area of the sky. And just to go back to the sun, the light of the sun is coming out of this deeply grounded area, and it's accentuated by Venus in domicile at home in Taurus, and so as the dispositor of the sun, that light that the sun is bringing, that the moon is reflecting, is going to be carrying a heavy Venusian energy, and Venus is in a really activated place, conjunct to fixed star Aldebaran, where we get the expression the bullseye, because Taurus the bull, this is the eye of Taurus the bull. And in this position, Venus is said to be really blessed, especially in her artistic capacity. So this is a great time to channel any energies that might be present, any energies that might be expressing themselves in the form of dynamic tension. We do have Mars and Mercury conjunct in the realm of Castor, Alpha Gemini. We do have them making oppositions to the stellium, the stellium of Pluto, Saturn, and the South Node. So they being Mercury and Mars, are conjoined up to the North Node. And many of you know this, but I'm just going to touch on it again because it's really kind of what's happening right now. In a big way, it's coloring everything that's happening right now. Pluto and Saturn coming together for January 2020 exact conjunction in the constellation of Sagittarius. Right now, they're very close, and they're conjoined to the South Node, having to do with the past, having to do with reconciling memories, reconciling past experiences. Pluto and Saturn, when you get them together, you really have a pretty twisted authoritarian thing. You have rule by secrecy, you have kind of totalitarianism. It's offset by that Sagittarian brightness, that quest for truth. Sagittarius is typically not a oppressive or a grinding influence. I mean, if anything, maybe a little judgmental, but it's not. The dark side of Sag is not what I would call heinous, not what I would call really, really awful. So this is a heavy influence, this Pluto-Saturn thing, as Saturn represents authority, discipline, restriction, severity. Oftentimes Saturn can represent obstacles. Very often you see Saturn bringing a heavy-handed lesson. So with Mercury and Mars and the North Node of looking to the future, of leaning into that world that we're going to create, leaning into that aspect of our day-to-day experience where we're that aspect of the present that is creative of the future. We do have in Gemini this strong influence in opposition, and we may with this trine to Neptune in Aquarius be connected in our thoughts, in our drive, in our consideration, in our dreams or our vision for the future. We may be connected to a more Neptune in Aquarius is a more utopian, is a more it's a very visionary influence that wants to make the world a better place. And we may feel this trine, we may feel very flush with the influence of Neptune here and our thinking process, which is governed and reflected by planet Mercury. We may feel some kind of way about big corporate, big government, big authoritarian activity in the world at large. We may find ourselves questioning it. We may find ourselves opposing it. Again, with Mars here, things can get a little feisty. With Mars opposite Pluto, there can be depth and intensity of feeling. There can be anger. And what this chart is indicating is that the very best influence, the very most supported influence to channel the tension, the dynamic tension of these oppositions is artistic. Again, with Venus in the degree of Aldebaran, opposite to Jupiter, a great time to lean into more artistic, more harmonious, more lively and light expressions of our energy, of any tension that might need to be expressed. The Sun is making a very, very, it's not very close, it's 7 degrees, 19 minutes of orb, and it's making an opposition, the Sun in Taurus, to Jupiter in Ophiuchus. So we may see a little bit of, with Venus also making an opposition, we may see a little bit of overindulgence. We may see a little bit of dreaming very big, especially when it comes to these ideas around new world, reevaluating with the South Node, all this social structure. This is all up for review, and we may find ourselves under the influence of this Jupiter opposition, which can just be overreaching. So in order to keep it realistic and to keep it grounded, tapping into that Taurus energy where the sun is, keeping things slow, keeping things grounded, keeping things steady is the energy of the moment. We can tap into that at this time in a much more accentuated way than might be available to us at other times. Taurus and its Sun and Venus placement here are the only Earth sign that's activated by planets right now. Virgo and Capricorn are empty. So a really great way to work with this is going to be creatively, it's going to be groundedly, it's going to be in a steady, patient, pragmatic way. It's the energy of Taurus. And with the moon in deep, profound, passionate Ophiuchus, marrying those two might, the art of Alex Gray comes to mind. The art of Alex Gray comes to mind. The mystical concepts and the patient, determined execution that combined with Neptune in Aquarius and with the consideration of a better world, with the consideration, with the curiosity around what might be possible, indicated here with this North Node, Mercury and Mars in Gemini. Opposite to the Dark Lords, Pluto and Saturn in Sag. That's really an amazing way to channel those energies into mystical or spiritual or visionary artwork of any kind. For those of you who aren't artists, even appreciating it at this time might really that might be an open door for you to see something, to appreciate. Again, Venus is the energy of appreciation, very activated in the degree of Aldebaran. A very fortunate star. So, yeah, great time for mystical exploration, great time for meditation. Unlike most full moons are more active, a little too high energy for many people to meditate. A lot of us feel more comfortable doing our inner work around the new moon, but this full moon is going to be a time to harness the energies, the life force energies, and work not so much with developing the steadiness or the flow of our minds, keeping our awareness on the breath or however you meditate, but much more time for connecting with the divine force, the force as it flows in the universe, connecting with the spirit, connecting with the Kundali, the serpent energy in the spine and in the body. So a great time to move energy, a great time to just sit and rest in the profound power and peace of the spirit. A great time to bridge the gap between earthly concerns and the mystical world of spirit energy and consciousness that underlies it all. The undercurrent at this time is going to be strong with the moon there in the degree of the galactic center. Just one last reminder to stay grounded. Double check any overly fantastic or daydreamy urges. Make sure that your vision your dream of the world you want to create is grounded in the firmness of reality and what's actually possible. And that about wraps it up. That's the full moon, June 17th. Going to be moving into the summer solstice a couple days after this. So big time of high energy, big time of a lot of light, and a great time to harness these flows and put them into play in the realm of activity. And I hope all that activity is very blessed, very touched by these last degrees of Aquarius that Neptune's in before it moves into its home world of Pisces. Things get really weird. All right, everybody. I wish you all the best. I'll see you next time for a new moon in constellation Gemini. Ciao for now.